to people who
days
do not have
was
medical
not that Joe
licenses.
Biden.
Ooh, that interview has not aged well. Tapper was right to apologize for it. He's also right to acknowledge that he's embarrassed that he did not pursue the story more aggressively. But look, this story is not over. Biden just announced that he has cancer. And if you believe what he's saying, that he didn't know until last Friday. This assertion strains credulity for a number of reasons. Look, it's inconceivable to me that the President of the United States, having access to better health care than just about anyone else in the country, would not have had the kind of testing that would have revealed such a condition. And if there was some suspicion of illness that was not followed up upon because it would be inconvenient to the campaign, well, that's a story too. Let's have some mainstream journalists get after it. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party is trying desperately to pivot to any other topic. Republicans are coming to take away your health benefits, shouts Hakeem Jeffries. So says he. Honestly, do you believe him? Does anyone? The entire leadership of the party should resign in disgrace. They're complicit in this cover-up, and they are not trustworthy, which is what we are continuing to discuss here today. The Megyn Kelly interview with Jake Tapper was, I think, very interesting. And, I want to be careful here in my criticism because I'm glad Tapper wrote this book with Alex Thompson. I'm glad they're doing these media appearances. Thompson was there as well on the Megyn Kelly show, and they stood up to the heat, as it were, and they admitted some wrongdoing in terms of how they handled this story. So that's all good. It's better for people to admit when they got it wrong than to steadfastly maintain they did nothing wrong. So I appreciate that. What did you make of the interview?
Alex Thompson, I'll give him a pass because he's been covering Biden's health throughout the presidency and
Sure.
the re-election announcement. Now, Jake Tapper. So Naomi Biden, which is Joe Biden's granddaughter, she said something that I thought was really profound yesterday. She said, the ones who rarely enter the arena but profit from the spectacle of those that do. And that's what she was referring to Jake Tapper. And so I'm going to bear with me for a second, but if you guys know, Brene Brown has a TED Talk about basically entering the arena and the people that are spectators that always have all the criticisms. Biden gave 50 years of his life to entering the political arena and trying to make change. Jake Tapper is a journalist that was covering Biden, and he now is using a very opportunistic route, which has minimal, damage for him. It's making it low risk, high reward move for him to do at this time when Biden is not running, to be a part of this type of book. When we just saw some of those interviews where he was also, like everyone else, misled and perhaps intentionally doing it, whatever he wants to say. Both times it was opportunistic. To make Laura Trump an embarrassment on his show was opportunistic, and now to write this book. So to me, I think it's very important that in this capitalist world, we understand what's going on. He's trying to make money, and that's very intentional and obvious, but I don't know that it's appropriate to do it on the back of Joe Biden. Like, was Joe Biden actually having this grand scheme to try to scam everybody, or was Joe Biden an older man who actually just believed that after 50 years of resilience and overcoming major health and serious life obstacles, that he could go again? And I think that that's a question we all have to ask ourselves before we try to make out some big scheme that was planned to try to run the presidency and plan that he was going to pass the torch to Kamala. I don't think all that was there. And I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill. And it's okay to provide space around somebody struggling with a health issue and understand that sometimes when people get older, they may not be acknowledging that change is so obvious for family and friends and loved ones and staff and colleagues to see.
But don't you think maybe he never came straight out and said it, that I'm going to be a one-term president, but he did stress that he would be a transitional figure to new leadership. I think there was an expectation that he was maybe only going to serve one term. So then it does get a little bit into territory. Well, it was his decision to run again when he shouldn't have. Now, maybe you can put a lot more blame on the people around him, his family members, his senior advisors, giving him bad advice. We're also, some of the reporting in the Tapper book is that he was, reliant on Donlin, this one pollster who was characterizing things in a very rosy way for Biden, even up until the end, where Biden was shocked to hear from other pollsters who represented what most polls showed him starting to be way outside the bounds of even conceivably being able to win re-election. And he was surprised by that because he was using someone who was presenting the numbers to him in the most favorable possible light. That a little bit goes to, the accountability. I also, I was thinking more and talking yesterday with Amber Duke, who hosts the show often on Fridays, about the timeline of the cancer diagnosis. And the more I think about it, the more I find it really hard to believe that this was not known to Biden and his inner circle months and months ago. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe their line is that it was really missed until last week. I find that so. This person, maybe the average citizen can miss something. These things get missed, but this is someone with much better health care than anybody else for good reason. He's an important figure. And I just find it so inconceivable. What I find possible is they maybe had some indication because of his health condition. I mean, that could have been what happened too, that he's experiencing some kind of symptoms where they should have checked to see if it was this, and they decide, no, we don't want to know, because if we know, then we got to tell everybody, and then it'll be a huge campaign issue. And so they allow him to linger in some kind of pain, and at that age, pain or discomfort for these reasons, that can actually drive you. That can propel a mental decline very, very, very much as can be the case. We've all had senior citizen relatives who, enter the hospital for a fall or something.
Right.
And then they turn that corner mentally because of that experience. So with all due respect and wanting him to recover fully, I have a lot more questions about the timing of the cancer diagnosis.
I think maybe it was a miscalculation for me instead of a cover-up. But I guess we'll keep trying to find out and get to the bottom of it.
Next up, President Trump thinks fellow Republican Thomas Massie, one of my favorites, should be voted out of office. Stay tuned.